Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. For those that are returning, glad to have you back. For those that are new to the channel, welcome. We're glad you joined us and we hope you like it. So, our podcast is for people that want to learn something new or make themselves a little bit better every day. So, we cover a wide variety of topics. The topic for today is 8 tips to manage stress. And I think it gets a bad rap sometimes. So, the word itself can create stress. When you hear the word stress, can raise your blood pressure, it can perk your ears up, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is, some amount of stress is actually good for us. It's how we learn to deal with life. It's how we develop coping skills. It's how we do a lot of things, right? So you put muscles under stress and they get bigger. You put your cardiovascular system under stress and it gets more efficient. You put your brain under the appropriate amount of stress and it learns to work more efficiently. It rewires itself to problem solve and adapt to the circumstances you find yourself in. It creates a sense of urgency to accomplish goals. It pushes us outside of our comfort zone so we grow as people. And again, the coping mechanisms are one of the biggest parts of the benefits of stress. So, stress isn't necessarily a bad thing, but there's only a certain amount of stress that we can tolerate before it starts to affect us in negative ways. So there's going to be difficult things in your life. You're going to have stress. You know it's coming. So the best thing to do is to come up with coping mechanisms or tools or systems that you can use to manage stress when it happens. So we are going to today give you 8 tips to do that with. And again, I want to focus on not all stress is bad, right? So pressure is what turns coal into a diamond. Time and irritation is what causes a little piece of sand that gets into an oyster shell to turn into a pearl. So there are lots of instances in nature. If you drip water on a rock for long enough, the water will eventually erode that rock and cut right through it. Might take 1,000 years, but it'll happen because that's how things work. And so a little bit of pressure is a good thing for us because it makes us grow. But we all know what it's like when there's just too much going on. We're having trouble juggling everything. We're just not feeling like we're in control of our lives or control of our situation. So those are the tips that we're focused on today. What can you do when you find yourself in those situations? Or what can you do proactively when you know you're going to head into those situations? Sometimes you don't have a choice on how stress is going to be. There's lots of stressful things that happen in our lives. People close to us get sick. Sometimes they pass away. Relationships start. Relationships end. Our children go through things that we don't have control over. All of those things can be stressful, and sometimes they can't be avoided. Like, let's just say for a second, your child wants to be a concert pianist or an Olympic soccer player or a skydiver, whatever the case may be, something that is going to put them in pretty high pressure environments that could lead to success, could lead to challenges, and it's stressful for you as their parent. You don't get a choice on that. So you've got to learn how to deal with those things in a productive way so you can be helpful and supportive and help them manage through the things that are going to pop up in their life, right? Because you're a role model, you're a leader to the people in your lives. So you have to think about it from their perspective as well. So even if you don't want it for yourself, think about what you can provide for other people if you're the person that can help them cope with challenging stuff. So all things to think about when we talk about stress. Not all bad. Some of it's good for us. When it gets too much, what can we do to manage through it? And that's what our tips are about today. So let's dive into them. Number 1, take care of yourself. And I can't stress this enough. It's terribly important. It's a conversation we have over and over again. It's a conversation we have to have with ourselves. Prioritize sleep. You've got to get enough sleep. We've done a podcast episode on what happens inside your body when you sleep. And when you sleep is when your body clears the toxins out that build up in your brain every day. It stores memories every night. It creates new pathways in your brain. That stuff all happens generally during REM sleep. And so sleep is a huge, huge tool to managing stress. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're going to hit your boiling point at a lower level than you would if you had the proper amount of sleep. Eat healthy. You get nutrients into your body from the food that you consume. So if they know you by first name at the McDonald's drive-through or the Chick-fil-A drive-through or insert fast food restaurant here drive-through, not a good thing. It doesn't mean all that food is terrible all the time. Not saying that at all, but when you prepare food at home that comes from nature, natural meats, natural vegetables, natural fruits, natural grains, so much better for your body, packed with nutrients, helps your body build the muscles you need, helps your body manage all of the processes we just talked about in your brain and your nervous system. So eating correctly is terribly, terribly important. And then regular exercise. And that can take many forms. It doesn't have to be a CrossFit workout or an Olympic level workout at a gym where you're just grinding as hard as you can for 45 minutes to an hour. Get out and take a walk. Go golfing, ride a bike, work in your garden, walk your dog, dance in your living room. There's lots of ways to get exercise, but it needs to be a priority in your life, and it needs to happen on a consistent basis. And we're talking about a half hour a day. We're not talking about some crazy commitment. So maybe you get a treadmill and you walk on the treadmill or you watch your favorite television episode. Wherever the case may be, you got to find a way to incorporate it into your life. It's a huge stress reliever. We heard it said one time that food is the most overlooked addiction in the world, and exercise is the most under-prescribed prescription in the world. And we believe in that statement 100%. So what you eat and what you do for exercise has a huge impact on your mental health. So don't sleep on those things. See what I did there? Don't sleep on those things as it relates to your health, because it's very, very important. So that's tip one, take care of your physical self. Tip number two, connect with others. Like, it's important to have relationships. Now, I can tell you, me personally, I value really close relationships with just a few people, and that works for me. And that doesn't mean it should work for you or should not work for you. I just know how I am. And so I've got a small group of people that I get a lot from in terms of just kind of mental and emotional support. And that works for me. If you like a big circle of friends, great. Do that. Whatever works for you is good enough. But don't underestimate the importance of human connection and physically speaking with people, preferably when you can, face to face. Maybe you live in two different cities. Maybe you do a Zoom call once a week and just catch up on stuff. That's fine. But talking with friends or family is terribly important. Another thing you can do is coach something that you're good at. You would be shocked how many people would love to learn to crochet, for example, would love to learn how to play bridge, would love to learn how to garden, would love to learn how to cook, would love to learn how to golf, would love to learn how to, there's tons of things, doesn't matter what it is. But there is a market out there for the skills that you take for granted that you have, and it's a great way to connect with people. And we find it's the main reason we do our podcast is we feel like we have accumulated a ton of life experience in the world. So played sports at a pretty high level, have existed and run businesses at a pretty high level, have had successful personal relationships for decades at a time, still with the first wife, 3 grown children. We've accumulated a lot of knowledge. And for us, we have seen the struggles that a lot of people have when they haven't accumulated that knowledge and haven't developed some of the skills and coping mechanisms that we've developed. And we want to share those with the world so you can make your lives better. That's what it's about for us. Now, that sounds touchy-feely, but it's really not, because look, the difference between a pat on the back and a kick in the ass is about 18 inches. And sometimes people need one or the other. And part of the job as a leader is to figure out which one they need and give it to them. And so it's not always rainbows and unicorns and holding hands and skipping down the primrose path. But coaching and teaching something is very rewarding. And that takes lots of forms. So think about that. Maybe you find a group that you can work with to do those things. Volunteer for a charity. That's another good thing to do. Charities always have volunteer positions open to work with folks that need help. And that's a great way to interact with other people, to help other people, which will help you feel much better about your situation and what you've got going on. You feel good about giving back. And it's a great way to connect with people if it becomes necessary. My mom was a phenomenal mother, and I have 3 sisters, and we were all fortunate that we had her as a mother. And so she volunteered for some time at a children's hospital and was just super helpful to a lot of the kids because they had pretty serious conditions. There were kids that had tried to commit suicide, and kids that had terminal diseases, and kids that had really tough things going on in their life. And I know that there was a benefit to them to being able to be around her. And that was a good outlet for her to kind of keep those skills sharp after her kids had grown and kind of made their way in the world. So there's lots of different ways to do it. Find one that works for you, but connecting with people is terribly, terribly important. Next, manage your time. So break your tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces and prioritize them. Reduce or eliminate unproductive activities. So we did an episode one time called Don't Major in Minor Things. So don't let the little bullshit stuff consume your day and feel like you're getting stuff done and you're accomplishing something, because you're not. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're being productive. Just because you're active doesn't mean you're getting something done. John Wooden was a great basketball coach and won, I think it was 10 NCAA championships at UCLA. And one of our favorite quotes from him is, never confuse activity with achievement. You might be working hard, but you might be doing the wrong thing, so you're not accomplishing what you're trying to accomplish. So by breaking your time down into specific tasks and focusing on the tasks that deliver the maximum benefit for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, will help you feel much more in control of your situation and will reduce your stress levels. So by managing your time in that way, you can really, really impact kind of your mental outlook on those things. And we can't talk enough about reducing or eliminating unproductive activities. Social media is designed, and I don't know if it was intentionally designed this way or if it was a happy accident, but when you interact with social media, you get a dopamine hit in your brain. And that's what makes you go back to social media over and over and over again. Well, that's not a super productive activity. Nothing real generally happens on social media. It's not real life. And so putting the phone down, stepping away from the screen, getting out and living in the real world will also provide a dopamine rush to your brain. And it's a much more productive way to spend your time most of the time. So we're not saying, get off of social media completely, but minimize it. Give yourself an hour a day, whatever the number is, whatever works for you, but really take a hard look at it and see if it's doing something in your life you don't want it to be doing. There's lots of activities that suck time away from productive activities that are unproductive for you. Identify those activities. And what you have to do to get rid of them is you have to replace the time you spent on that activity with a different, more productive activity. Just stopping doing something rarely works. You have to replace it with something else so you don't go back to the activity because there's a void of time. The good news is you get to choose what those activities are, but you have to choose it. You have to do it. Next, control your environment. Avoid hot button topics. Turn off the TV. Stay off social media. If you feel a lot of stress and anxiety about politics, don't talk about politics. You don't have to. There's no law or rule that says you have to engage in those conversations. You are not required to have an opinion on every single thing that happens or every single topic that is talked about. It's perfectly acceptable to say, you know what? Not for me. I'm out. See ya. So we love the Irish goodbye. The Irish goodbye is you just leave. Don't say goodbye. Don't explain yourself. Don't say what you're doing, where you're going. You're just gone. We're a big fan of the Irish goodbye. You don't owe explanations to anybody. You have to do what's best for you. You don't got to be a jerk about it, but you need to control your environment. You need to decide what's important to you, what you want to spend your time on, and just don't get engaged in the other stuff. It's really that simple. But identify what those topics are that are problematic for you and eliminate them. Just get them out of your life. There's no point in letting those things stress you out because you don't have a lot of control over them. And we've talked about it before, but when you waste time trying to control things you can't control, it's going to raise your anxiety levels, going to raise your stress levels, and it's a super unproductive way to spend your time. So control your environment. Next, practice relaxation. Lots of different ways to relax. We've talked about breathing techniques, and we talk about it over and over again, and we do it all the time in our lives. Cleansing breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. It's really that simple. I don't know why. I'm not a doctor. I don't know why it works. I just know it resets kind of your thought process, and your nervous system has a very calming effect. So that's a great way to go. There's other breathing techniques. You can Google them. You can YouTube them. Lots of people out there that know a lot more about that than me, and I would refer you to them for the help that you need to incorporate those, but they're important. Stretch. Like any physical activity like that, stretching. A stretch is very relaxing. Learn Tai Chi or yoga. Those are low impact, Don't require a lot of strength, don't require you to go to a gym. You can Google or YouTube those kinds of things and do them in your living room all by yourself. If you want to do them in a group, that's great. Do them in a group. Take a walk, meditate. There's all sorts of things you can do to practice relaxation, but you should build that into your schedule. You should say at this point of the day, every day, I'm going to take whatever it is, 15 minutes, a half hour, an hour, whatever you think is best for you, and put it in your schedule and do it. Do it every day, and it will reduce your stress levels. We guarantee it. Next, challenge negative thoughts. So identify and change unhelpful thought patterns. What is it that sends you down that path? There are clues to what's doing it. Are there certain situations where you find yourself having negative thoughts? Are there certain people you're around that cause you to have negative thoughts? Are there certain circumstances that you're in that cause you to have negative thoughts? Avoid those. Get them out of your life. If you want to reduce your stress, you have to take control of those things and reduce or eliminate them from your life, because that will reduce or eliminate the stress that they cause. And so you have to own it. You have to be the captain of your ship, and you have to challenge those negative thoughts when they pop into your head. Why am I thinking this way? What drove me to think this way? What can I do to stop it from happening? Or what can I do to quickly pivot myself to a better thought process when I do feel it coming on? So very, very important. Next, take time for yourself. Not everything's about being productive and super efficient and accomplishing things every minute of the day. Do things you enjoy. Pick up a new hobby. Schedule some time for your personal health, like we just talked about. Put it in your schedule. And it could be anything you want. Maybe it's reading. Maybe it's crocheting. Maybe it's doing crossword puzzles. Maybe it's golfing. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's hiking. Maybe it's snowboarding. Maybe it's water surfing. Doesn't matter what it is, but take time for yourself. Have things in your life that are just for you, that you enjoy doing, that you look forward to, and make them non-negotiable. Every Saturday I go windsurfing. Whatever. 3 days a week I go for a walk. 3 days a week I do Tai Chi. 3 days a week I go to chess club. Doesn't matter what it is. It's what works for you. But find those things and make them non-negotiable. Make them a part of your life. Make them like eating dinner. You would not eat dinner. Make those relaxation times or that time for yourself as important as that is in your life. That's the way to get it done. Finally, let's say you try all those things and they're not working. Maybe you need some help. Maybe you need to go talk to a therapist or a counselor or some other mental health professional to help you cope with whatever you're coping with. Maybe you've got a ton of big stuff that's hit you in your life and it's just too much for you to handle on your own. People wind up in those situations sometimes. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to feel bad about. There's nothing to get down on yourself about. Sometimes people need help. There's a reason that there's thousands of people that exist in that profession, and it's to help people when they inevitably wind up in those situations. Sometimes you can get that help from your circle, your family, your friends, your acquaintances, your peers at work, wherever the situation is. There may be a group of people there that can help you. If there's not, don't be too proud to go get help. How much of your life do you want to waste wrestling with an issue that could be solved with a phone call and some conversations with somebody that can help you work through it? So don't feel shame. Don't think you're too good for it. Don't think you're too mentally tough for it. Don't think it makes you weak. If you need help, go get it. Like, it's up to you to make that first call and seek the help. And there's tons of people out there to help you if you just ask. So don't sleep on that, because it's very, very important. So those are 8 tips for today, guys. Hope you found them helpful. Look, stress, again, not necessarily a bad thing. A certain amount of stress is good for us in our life. But when things, you can feel it reaching kind of that tipping point or that boiling point, come back and check this episode out. Write these 8 techniques down and start practicing them. And we guarantee you it'll make a difference in how you manage stress and how you feel in your life. So hope you found it helpful, guys. Again, James every day puts it up right over here. Don't forget to go check out our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are available there. We publish a newsletter every weekday that you can subscribe to on our channel, on our website as well. And then we've got links to all of our other social media content on our website as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. And appreciate you guys coming back. For those that were new, hope you found this episode valuable. Really appreciate the support. Hope everyone has a great week, and we will see you next time.